What's up, guys? How you doing? You might notice, or I think you're going to notice, this video looks a little different. You guys know I bought the Mevo at the beginning of lockdown, and I have yet to use it until right now because Matt Donato told me that they came out with a new app for it that lets you use it as a streaming camera attached to different services like StreamYard or Zoom. So I don't know. I downloaded it and I was too tempted not to try it today, even though the Mevo isn't fully charged and it might die and I might have to switch back to the laptop computer, but we're going to see how this goes. But it's a special episode today because I have a guest, and it's a guest that I'm very much looking forward to making sure you guys know, but also I don't know all that much about what got her to this industry, and specifically Collider. So let's get into it right now with Liz Shannon Miller. Hi.
Cool. Hi. How's it going?
How goes it on the West Coast?
Oh, all right. I mean, we clearly miss you over here. God, sorry. Just that thing where you end up staring down at your screens where you're like, oh, what's going on with my hair?
The story of my life.
Yes.
Every day.
I think it'll be fine for at least the moment. Yeah. The West Coast misses you. But I actually never got a chance to work with you while everyone was still working in an office. So this, I guess, I can't speak fully to the experience, but it's a whole thing.
I mean, there's something about being on Slack 24/7 that feels like we are physically working in the same space, kind of.
That's very much true. Yeah, I mean, I've been used to this kind of lifestyle for a long time anyway. I've worked remotely off and on over the years a lot. So, I do miss an office, but I've got pretty decent habits, I think, about getting out of bed, putting on the clothes that tell your brain it's time to work now, that sort of thing.
So wait, do you get up in the morning and get dressed as though you were going to an office?
I mean, to some degree. This one's for the ladies. I do bra up every morning.
Okay. That's important.
Just to some degree. So actually, quite honestly, there are days when I'll be like, it's kind of a lazy day. I don't really need to worry about anything. This is a sports bra day versus, oh no, I got to really have good posture. Got to pay attention. Got to really be on my game. And that's where I'll go for a more substantial bra. I'm sure that your audience is really appreciating you talk about my underwear this much.
It's important behind the scenes information to know. They all know that I haven't really gotten properly dressed. This is going to sound awkward, but below the waist in a long time. My sweatpant collection has gotten a workout the last couple of months, but I think since we've been in lockdown, I think I've put on jeans twice.
Yeah. See, I like many grown-up, well-adjusted adults, have the laundry pile in the corner, and I just have a pair of jeans on the top of the laundry pile that I bring out. The top versus bottom thing is interesting because I remember early in the lockdown, I was like, I'm going to treat myself. I don't typically order clothes online, but especially back in March, that was the thing, the only real serious option. So I went to Uniqlo and because they seemed great, and I purchased a couple of pairs of shorts and flowy pants, and then one or two tops, and then since joining Collider, I've had to do a ton more video interviews. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, now I need to do the whole shopping thing again, but this time for tops. And because it doesn't matter what I'm wearing. As long as I have a couple of functional pairs of shorts, that doesn't matter. What now matters is the top half. Got to have some fresh options there.
Most of my go-to options are obviously still in LA because when I came to New York, I didn't pack a normal suitcase. I basically took one of those carry-on suitcases, and the only thing that went in that bag was my camera equipment and Dewey's things. That's it. So my wardrobe's limited right now.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to the very beginning, because I want to know what kind of got you here from the start. When did you decide that you wanted to get into this crazy world of entertainment journalism?
It kind of happened when I wasn't how I wasn't expecting it to happen. I have a degree in film from a university that hands those sorts of degrees out. And for a few years, right after graduation, I did assistant work, I did temp work, I did all sorts of random things. And then, but in those first few years after graduation, one of the things I did end up doing, and it literally, I never made any money off it. No one involved ever made any money off it. It still actually costs me money. But I felt really strongly, like a couple years, like a year or two after graduation, that I wanted to create a website where people, like the smart, funny people I knew, could write about television. So I essentially created a web zine called Smart TV, missing the A in the title. And Smart TV ran for a good solid 2 years. And this is something I was just doing for fun as a passion project. And I had numerous contributors and we all just really wanted to write columns and reviews. And we even did a couple of interviews, which blew my mind at the time. I was like, what do you mean the lady who plays Sun on Lost will talk to my webzine? Like, that's insane. We got Adam Baldwin. Adam Baldwin is a featured interview on smarttv.com to this day. It was 2004 is what I'll say about that, by the way. Yeah, so it was a really fun project. But what was really wild about it was something I did for fun. And I'd been like on my school paper, I'd always done journalism, but then in like, I guess 2006, late 2006, I got hired like as a part-time intern, but it was a paid position at a website that covered online video. And this is just when YouTube and web series and so forth were starting to be a thing. So I got hired as a paid intern at this site. And 6 months later, I was the managing editor, which is a reflection of how big that staff was, and B, how much time and energy I devoted to it. And it was really fascinating getting to cover like what was emerging online in terms of content at that point. And then, so I started off covering digital content, and was one of the very few people doing it, which meant it meant that there weren't a lot of people reading about this stuff, and B, it meant that I was something for anyone who did care about it. I was able to find a new job once that old site folded for various shady reasons. And so from there, I joined a company called GigaOM, and I was covering original content and what was in viral videos and so forth. And I stayed there for up until I got the job at IndieWire. I shifted to part-time at a certain point. I basically, for a couple of years while I was at GigaOM, I also had a job writing for Attack of the Show on G4. And so I switched basically to doing a weekly column for GigaOM because I kind of wanted to keep my hand in the journalism aspect of my career, even while I was writing ridiculous sketches about video games. And and then so Attack of the Show got canceled. I returned to full-time freelancing for a couple of different sites, and then I got hired at IndieWire as TV editor, and then I got laid off from IndieWire last year, and then I recently joined Collider, and so I think that's kind of the Reader's Digest condensed version. Like, there's a lot of other stuff that's happened in there, and I've done a lot of other things. I still basically, in a lot of ways, like, I consider all the kinds of writing I do to be some element of storytelling, and so that's what I feel really passionately about. It's like, if it's like an interview, if I'm doing an interview, it's like I'm using someone else's words to tell their story. And that's always been a big factor in what interests me about covering the stuff we cover is there's a story behind these stories, and it's trying to understand them is, I think, a fascinating part of this process.
I have many follow-up questions, but first, hello, Chris McGovern. He says, hi, Perri. Hi, Liz. Good morning to you both. Thank you for being here today, Chris. First, what was your film degree in? Is it just like general, or did you have certain tracks within that program that you could pick from?
My degree was in screenwriting. And there were like, it's funny because there were 24 students in my program when it first started. And then I think to date, like at least half of the people who got involved with that program dropped out or are not involved in the entertainment industry at all. I would say probably 5 or 6 have worked as professional writers at some point as professional screenwriters or at some executive level. I think of the 24, there's only one I know for certain is actively working as a television writer. But that's what happens when you ask 18-year-olds to come up with a career path. Like, no one should do that. We should never do that. We should never put 24 18-year-olds in a room and say, great, we're going to teach you everything you need to know about screenwriting for the next 4 years, even though your brains are still mushy and unformed, and you probably won't want to do it after 4 years.
No, I was thinking about it as you were explaining, because my program was a grad school program, and in my like little producing section of like the bigger program, there were 25 people. And you know what, I don't know the exact stats, but most of the people that I knew from that program, like I would say the majority of them are still in the industry, and maybe that just has something to do with having taken the time to really figure out what your path is going to be.
Oh, absolutely. Like in the last 2 years of my program, we started taking classes, electives, and other stuff with the graduate students in the same program. And it was night and day difference between their commitment to what they were doing and our commitment to what we were doing. Like, I mean, we weren't uncommitted, but these people knew that they were gambling an absurd amount of money on this degree, on the off chance that it would pay off into an actual career doing this job. The stakes for them weren't higher, but I think they understood them to be higher.
Here's a question for you, because I forget who said this recently, but I saw it circulating Twitter, and it rubbed me the wrong way for obvious reasons that will present themselves in a minute. But just folks who say that individuals who get into the entertainment industry on the journalism side are there because they can't do the creative elements. They can't be a writer, a director, a star. That's why they're there. And like, I could not feel more strongly against that comment. So what is your take on it?
It's such a fascinating question. And quite frankly, as someone with a screenwriting degree, like, you know, it's one that comes up, it just late at night, laying in bed. It goes kind of back to what I was saying about how I feel like what all of my education through college taught me was about the importance of storytelling. That was always the thing. And so having a screenwriting degree means I understand the technical process I understand the technicalities of what it takes to make something on a level that, say, someone who doesn't have that degree might not be aware. I understand a lot of, practical elements. I'm able to dig in, it enables me to dig into story when I'm doing an interview with a producer or a showrunner on a level that I might not normally be, that I wouldn't have necessarily been able to if I hadn't had this education. The fact of the matter is there are tons of people who end up kind of transitioning from trying to sell that screenplay to the entertainment journalism side of things. And there are plenty of entertainment journalists who still have those screenplays and are sometimes still shopping them. And I remember actually when I first started really committing to journalism, I have a degree in screenwriting. I have written several screenplays. But at a certain point, I remember, especially when I was covering web series, and there was fervor in Los Angeles. Like everyone wants to cover web series. Everyone wants to make a web series. And for me, professionally, I felt like it would be like a major conflict of interest if I was writing about web series and also trying to make web series. That just felt weird. So I never made a web series thing. I think I like had fun like screwing around making comedy pilots and stuff with friends, but never really committed to that. And instead, actually, I spent a good solid period in my 20s and 30s as working in theater and participating like and engaging in the Los Angeles Black Box scene, which is actually a really fun, exciting, creative community. Or was. It's been a while since I've been actively, writing plays, but I really enjoyed it. It was a wonderful creative outlet. It actually, frankly, taught me a lot more about writing for characters and writing in that fashion than 4 years of screenwriting class ever did, because, there's a very big difference between writing lovely lyrical screenplays and writing like a great line, what you think is a great line for an actor, and the actor reading it on a stage and saying to you, but what does it mean? What's the point? Like, and you have to have an answer. And, I came at it with like, but it sounds good. And that's not what the actor needs to hear. It's a terrible thing. This is a weird tangent, but I guess my feeling is like, I think there are definitely people for whom entertainment journalism can be seen as a stepping stone or something they're settling for or whatever. And those people, I know I'm not going to name names, but I know of at least one person who is actively pursuing creative projects and is also still actively working as a journalist and critic. That person, however, A, is very good about their ethical guidelines, and B, still really cares about the work they do. And also, they also made a point of, on some level, shifting their interests and and shifting the kind of coverage they did and doing fewer reviews and focusing on other stuff, just because as a creator, it made less sense to them. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's probably the best way of going about it. I mean, I think if you can't do critique, idea is unfair to every side of things. It's unfair to the people who have a great novel or screenplay in them that also care passionately about the value of criticism within any industry. I feel like there was. Did you get this quote? I think you might have gotten this quote from Leslie Odom Jr.
What was the quote?
Leslie Odom Jr. No, maybe it wasn't your interviews. Basically, Leslie Odom Jr. had this great statement about criticism, okay. where he basically said, "Of course, if we didn't have critics, we wouldn't know that what we were doing had impact. Without criticism, we wouldn't know that what we do is worth considering on that level." I'm mixing it up. I'm making a complete mess of it. But I think that's the thing of it. Critics give what they cover value by considering it.
Here, I actually have it.
You found it.
If I can.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So I'm reading from an Entertainment Weekly article right now, and he said, I believe this is the right quote. I might be in the wrong section of the article. "Whenever I put out something that I'm creating, I am desperate for the other half of the conversation." This is Hamilton.
It's kind of along those lines.
Just search the word.
Here it is. And it's a good person.
It's the next part of it. Oh. The fact that Hamilton came out on Disney Plus 4 years later and it wasn't ignored, then he says, criticism legitimizes your work. The fact that someone has taken time to watch it and they have a thoughtful opinion about it is everything.
Yeah.
It's true. I fully believe in that.
Absolutely. I mean, for you, I'm sure as well, it's a similar thing where even if you have that dream project that if someone handed you $1 million, you'd run off and make right away. That doesn't mean that you don't take what you do seriously and you don't see the value of it and you don't believe that it has importance.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. I feel like if someone knocked on my door, gave me $1 million and said, make whatever you want, I probably would run off and make a movie with that. But I don't know, the only reason I went to film school, or I should say the only reason, I went to film school for 2 reasons. One was to give me more paths to possibly pursue in an industry that I knew I wanted to carve out a place in. But also, I had already been working as a critic at the time. And once that thought creeped into my head, that I feel like in order to better critique someone else's work, I need to have the experience of making something myself. I couldn't shake that, and I had to do that.
Yeah.
But in the process of making things, though, I realized like I'm good at certain things when it comes to making a movie, and I enjoy it quite a bit, but I might enjoy celebrating other people's work even more. And that kind of locked me down one road.
Yeah. I mean, and also, I feel like you see this all the time in criticism where, I mean, I think, you can, I have given many shows bad reviews. Not a ton, mostly because my version of a bad review is we don't cover it. But in terms of, I feel like the worst criticism is criticism that doesn't acknowledge that real people put real time and effort in making something. Like when you forget that, that's when you lose touch. It's not like if the kids are doing something or whatnot that you don't understand. It's because you've lost touch with the fact that human beings are involved with the making of a product.
Yeah. I feel like at a point, it's not even just about, they're human beings pouring a lot of passion into something and just like being nice about it. Because I often find that a response to a lot of reviews is that it's either really, really good or really, really bad. And there's nothing in between, but there is the option to give something a middle ground review and praise certain elements of a project or certain departments in their work that they deliver, but know that, other things didn't pan out as well. And that's what we wind up with, those C's and B's. So one thing before we continue, hold on. Let me see if I can fix this. Wait, ready? Terrible color temperature here. I'm blue. Now I'm bluer.
Hey.
No.
You're
a better option, but for whatever reason, the Mevo white balance is like not looking right now. I'm gonna Google that later, but I'll be blue for the meantime. I have a chat question that is a very, very good question to bring up with you here.
Okay.
Jai Gupta's asked, what are you guys rooting for at the Emmys this year?
God, who's even nominated? I know who's nominated.
With everything we cover, it's incredible. Like when you look at all the nominees, the percentage that we've covered heavily is like pretty high. But when you bring up a question like that, it's like it all blurs together and you can't think anymore.
Yeah, I'm legitimately pulling up the nominations right now. I feel like my thing with the Emmys is always like, first off, the Emmys are invalid because Legends of Tomorrow doesn't get nominated for anything, and we just need to accept that this is a really fun little exercise we do every year, and it's very cute that people think that they're honoring the best shows on television, and clearly they're not. But whatever, we'll give them this one. I feel like I'm very excited for I'm very excited for how well Watchmen did. Like, I think we were all expecting it to do well. We were not expecting it to necessarily do that well, but I'm all for it. Like, I am all for the Emmys embracing their weirdness. I also, last year, while I was freelancing, I wrote this article about Emmy contenders in the pre-nomination phase, and all of them were first season shows. And basically, the point of the article was it's really important for shows in their first season to get a nomination because that sets the conversation for their future seasons, guarantees them future nominations, and so forth. So some of the shows I profiled were What We Do in the Shadows and Rami, and I think I at least mentioned Dead to Me, none of which made it in. And I felt really guilty about that. I was like, did I jinx it? Like none of my first season picks got nominated. So I was really happy that, you know, What We Do in the Shadows made it in, Dead to Me made it in, Rami. I think did Rami just get a nomination for Rami Youssef, or I'm checking this now. This is a very important question. I'm sure everyone wants to know the answer to.
I'm on like the official Emmys page right now, and I feel like the search tool is not working as well as I would like it to.
Oh yeah, no. For 3 months of the year, every year, I have the official nominations list PDF saved to my desktop. But yeah, it was not nominated for Best Comedy, but yeah, Rami Youssef did get in, as well as Mahershala Ali.
Yes.
Which is lovely. Yeah, so I mean, I think it's a fun year. I do feel like it's fantastic that there was so much Black representation across the nomination field. I have seen very fair criticism that representation goes beyond just Black nominations. Latino people were really shut out, and there was some really strong content this year really strong series this year that could have been considered. So yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's the Emmys, man. Like, Emmy's gonna Emmy. Like, I like this crop of nominations. I feel like there's some wild curveballs in there. I love the chaotic energy of The Mandalorian getting nominated for Best Drama. Like, that is perfect to me. Like, I know it makes some people really mad. Some people we might happen to work with, but I personally thought it was a great first season, and you know, why not? Why not? It's 2020. Why not?
I'm right there with you. I absolutely love it. I still haven't hit the point where I'm able to shake the shows that I was rooting for that didn't get enough love. Like, you know how obsessed I got with Zoe, and you know, I was really pulling for Pose to get more nominations, but there really is just so much to celebrate here. Like, I know this was an obvious one, but I'm always happy to see Succession get more nominations because, man, like, it's so good. I can't handle it.
I mean, it gives us the gift of Kieran Culkin yelling or trash talking his competitors, some of whom are his fellow castmates, and I am all for that. I will, if you could just give him a live stream, and I'll just watch it for hours and hours.
Oh, I think I'd be pretty happy watching that too. I mean, yeah, scrolling through the list. I mean, like, Brian Cox can do no wrong in that show in my eyes. I could watch him just, you know, drop F-bombs all day long. The one that really excited me, though, was Zendaya. I think that was probably my favorite surprise of the bunch.
I mean, that was a huge one. Like, yeah. If you're going to recognize that show for anything, definitely recognizing her performance is the way to go.
She really is so good. Because, you know, it's not like I wasn't appreciating her work when I first started the show, but I forget which episode it was, but there's this one moment when she's having like a meltdown outside a door and she's banging on the door. And that was just like, that was the beat where I'm like, holy shit. Like, this is next level award worthy stuff. So to see her actually get recognized is just so satisfying.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing of it. Like, I wrote our snubs and surprises piece when the nominations came out. And it's easy to go through the surprises, but there's so much good stuff happening. I'm sure you guys have never heard this before, that there's a lot of television happening right now. But like, yeah, you know, you could write a billion words on all the different shows that should have been recognized for one reason or another. Like, you know, The Great deserved better. It could have gone a lot further, I think.
Yeah.
It should have gone a lot further. That it was really solid. Normal People got a little bit more attention than I think any of us were expecting, but could have, you know, it would have been nice to see it perform a little better.
I would have liked to have seen them both get nominations.
What was that again?
I would have liked to have seen both of the stars get nominations.
That's a little, like, I can't really necessarily understand what happened there.
Yeah, I don't really either. It's like, if he had that much momentum like behind him, why wouldn't she?
I mean, let me look really quickly because I think honestly the problem there just might be like she is incredible, but yeah, like the other people she's up against. Like in that category, we have Kerry Washington, we have Kate Blanchett, Octavia Spencer, Shira Haas for Unorthodox, which is and then of course Regina King for Watchmen.
Yeah.
Like I would argue that maybe Octavia Spencer, given if only just because that show was not a critical favorite and all that. But you know, I'm not. I love Octavia Spencer. I think she's fantastic. So I think I'm not going to question her getting a nomination. But like, yeah, it is ridiculous that only one of them got nominated because it's such a two-hander of the show.
I can't wait until we start to get in like real prediction zone and like we should do like a Collider pool or something.
I'll arrange. I'll set up a pool. It's very easy to do with Google Forms. Trust me, I love doing.
Count me in. I'm in, but I want to legit put something on the line. Ooh. I don't want it just to be the winner of the pool. Let's put something in there. Wait, actually, here's a good question for you because every time Caleb pops up in the super chat section, he always makes me think of fantasy football because he's the one helping me set up my league right now. Gotcha. Are you into fantasy football?
I am not largely because I think, every once in a while, like, people will say, like, how do you watch so much TV? And they don't say this to me. They just know I watch a lot of TV. But one of the reasons why I'm able to watch a lot of TV on any given day is that I watch like maybe 3 sports games a year. I wish I had the mental fortitude to keep up with sports in general. And I really like sports. I actually genuinely enjoy watching them, but it's just something like there are 150 baseball games per team every year. Who has time for that? That's like 3 hours. And then
that's the reason I won't get into fantasy baseball. But if I'm just committed to fantasy football, I can handle that.
Yeah,
some Thursdays, Mondays, and Sundays.
Fantasy football feels a little more possible, a little more attainable. And I honestly do, as problematic as it is, I do genuinely enjoy watching the sport. So, but yes, I think there's a part of me that wonders if I would be very good at fantasy football. I really like watching the league, though. I've rewatched the league every couple of years, and that show is I thank that show for teaching me as much as I know about the process of fantasy football. Because it does seem like fun.
I'm trying to pressure Jeff into keeping the Collider Fantasy Football League alive if football happens at all this year. But I feel like I might regret wanting him to be the commissioner, but I'm trying to make him do it.
I mean, look, absolute power corrupts absolutely, but in this case, what could go wrong?
Wait, here's something else I want to ask you. I didn't even realize you're playing in the Schmodown.
I joined the Schmodown last year.
How many matches have you played? Like before jumping into this, you're in the singles tournament this year, right?
Yes, and I am in the singles tournament, and I feel like I actually can't say anything about it. I will say that I am competing in this singles tournament. To say to what degree I am participating in the singles tournament would probably count as spoilers.
So even with all the time you spend watching TV and your 3 sports events throughout the year, you still have enough time to consume enough movies to be a good Schmodown player.
Well, I'm basically, I think the thing is that before entertainment journalism, before college, and even a little after college, I used to work as a video store clerk. And so, so I've always had this kind of base level amount of movie trivia knowledge that I keep up with. The two things I will say are, is anytime I don't do well in a Schmodown match, I basically tell myself, well, it doesn't matter because this is about television. I'd be smoking all you guys. if they ever do like a exhibition match that's all television, I'm here. I'm ready to destroy all comers.
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
No.
It sounds like a ton of work for them to be able to, it just seems like I remember doing on Screen Junkies TV fights versus movie fights. And maybe it is because just generally I watch more movies than I do see television, even though that's kind of different this year. But anyway, it just seems like it was a much easier game to play just sticking to feature films versus shows.
Well, I mean, there's a lot, yeah, like, and, TV gets super complicated. I once played a trivia game with some friends with some friends on a podcast, and the game was the guy who's basically quiz mastering would name a show, and we had to say how many seasons it was on the air for, and it was almost sometimes impossible. It's like, how many seasons has Survivor been on the air? The answer is 35. I'm maybe exaggerating by a scotch, but yeah. I mean, also the other thing I'm going to say is that TV and film are so interlinked in so many ways that having a good, strong amount of both TV and film knowledge has come in handy during the Schmodown. For example, actually, I remember in my third ever match, the question was that this Sex and the City co-star appeared in Big Trouble in Little China. And I could have gotten it if it had just been which actress appeared in Big Trouble in Little China. But I was double sure because of the Sex and the City clue. Meanwhile, my opponent just was like, I don't know, that girl in Sex and the City, and and James Corden was also in that same match, and I remember and it was, the question was who did the voice of God, I'm blanking now. The Beatrix Potter film about.
I'm surprised you remember all these specifics already.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's, I don't know. I enjoy knowing all this stuff just for the pride of knowing it.
Yeah,
and so it's I feel like I've never been I'm starting to train a little bit these days for Schmodown when matches are coming up, just to feel like I'm doing is something, but
it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone keeps asking me because my match is coming up soon, and I mean, how hard it is with all the stuff that we're required to watch on a daily basis. It's like, how am I going to watch stuff to study also? But I do genuinely want to study.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, I very much take the Slumdog Millionaire attitude of just if it's fated, if you're meant to win this match, the right question will come. There are definitely times when I've there definitely been instances where I've gotten a question, I'm just okay, I get it, universe.
I feel like that idea is going to make me feel so much better. I'm gonna remember that.
Well, it's just I mean, even if it's yeah, I mean, they're going to be especially if you're like me and movies and TV are incredibly tied to your personal memories. Oh God, I can't remember. Oh, I remember there was one question I got right in a teams match, and the question was, I'm going to mess it up. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger gets strapped to a crazy wheel in this sci-fi fantasy 80s movie. And the other three people I was playing against all got it wrong. I got it right, but it's not their fault that they didn't date this guy I dated named Aaron for 2 years, and who was obsessed with Conan the Barbarian. I actually owe my relationship with Aaron a number of Arnold Schwarzenegger facts that are lodged in my brain. It's all you have these random life experiences that maybe involve a movie in the background, and then that question comes up in the Schmodown. You're like, great, thank you, whatever memory that is. For
Arnold Schwarzenegger films are good ones to have in your back pocket because I feel like they come up so often.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I was playing along last night with the live match, and I was really disappointed in myself for the what in what Schwarzenegger film does he say it's not a tumor? And I just immediately went Junior when the answer is Kindergarten Cop. These are the things that bother me. These
God, I haven't seen Kindergarten Cop in forever.
I mean, I actually wonder if Kindergarten Cop holds up. It could.
I have a lot of questions like that about some movies that I used to love. I mean, I already knew this, but the other night, I mean, you know, I'm quarantining with my family. We're on top of each other all the time, which means we watch the same movies all the time. And my mom loves horror just as much as I do. So when you're scrolling through, you know, like the premium channels and you see, I Know What You Did Last Summer, you're going to leave it on. Right. I still think some sequences in it are really well executed, but there's so many dumb beats in that movie.
I don't think I've ever actually seen that film all the way through. I should, because
it feels like an essential to me, but there are higher quality horror films to watch.
Yeah, it's relatively iconic. I remember all like for the last like month or so here in Los Angeles. For anyone who's watching this who's not familiar with Los Angeles summers, the standard thing is that they typically don't really start until about late July, and then they last until the end of October. But in this particular case, we had, like, the last few weeks, we've had an extraordinarily good run of weather. Like, it's just like topping out in the 80s in the basin. Like, this has been a very manageable August, to a degree that made me very suspicious and nervous about what was coming. And I nearly posted on Twitter just the GIF from I Know What You Did Last Summer, where, you know, Jennifer Love Hewitt just screams, "What are you waiting for?" And I think the morning I was like looking up the GIF and considering doing it. I double checked the weather, and that was 2 days ago, and we're supposed to hit 100 today. So I'm just saying that the power of I Know What You Did Last Summer is, clearly resonating. In the air. And
the franchise is always working in the background for some reason. Yes. We have someone commenting on Kindergarten Cop. Aberrations Abattoir says, I have a Kindergarten Cop on Laserdisc. If you saw it as a kid, it still kind of holds up.
Okay. No, I think there's definitely like a subcategory of movies where, like, if you did see it as a kid, like, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to forgive the flaws and really enjoy it for the nostalgia. It's one of the reasons why I regret never seeing The Goonies when I was a kid. Because as an adult, that movie is impossible.
There's other people out there who think that, and my brain can't compute it because I watched it so many times when I was younger.
Right.
I still adore it.
I don't know why I never watched it either. I don't know how that just didn't happen. But yeah, because I saw it, I went to a midnight screening in college, and it was just like, this is what you guys have been talking about? What's going on?
All right, before I let you go, I have one really, really big question for you that I'm sure I'm going to feel bad about putting all this pressure on you after I ask it. But what's your favorite TV show of all time?
Well, the advantage here is that, it's not the first time I've been asked it.
Okay.
In the long and the short of it is that I probably have to say The X-Files. I think it's a show that has been it was a formative show for me. It came into my life at exactly the right point. You know how it is, something just hits you at exactly the right moment in your life. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was the show that taught me that television was written. I knew fundamentally that there were people who wrote scripts for TV shows, but The X-Files was the show where I'd be watching the opening credits and Vince Gilligan's name would come up. That, oh, Vince Gilligan, he wrote Small Potatoes and he wrote Pusher. He's my favorite. He's great. This should be a great episode. And then or if there was another, John Shiban, I was like, oh, okay, this will be like a conspiracy episode. This will be interesting. We'll see how this goes. It's the show that taught me so much about the fundamentals of television, the fundamentals of storytelling in a lot of respects, both the good and the bad aspects. There's some cautionary tales to be sure in The X-Files' history. And yeah, and then and then I still don't know what teenage me would have thought of the fact that 20 years later I was interviewing people involved with it and writing criticism of it for money. Like, all those things are still pretty wild to me. I mean, I would, yeah, I think there are other shows that I feel like are arguably much better and arguably equally as important to me. But, you know, over multiple decades of my life have been defined by the X-Files, so I kind of have to give it to that.
I love that answer. And Christy's with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that show, even if the ending wasn't great. Grew up on
Which ending, Christy? Because there are 5.
I'm sure Christy will actually chime in with an answer in a minute. So I'm going to answer this question from Level 2 Trading. So Perri, when is your Schmodown match?
Schmodown match?
I think it's August 28th. Dates in my mind right now are so jumbled up though, because of like all the interviews coming up.
Of course.
I can't keep track of anything anymore. Like, if I didn't have like, I need both like my iCal alerts and my Google Calendar alerts to keep track of everything.
No, I hear you. I actually now have a weekly reminder in my calendar. It's on the calendar for 8 a.m. Saturday every week to clean my cat box.
So I caved. Do you know what I did?
What'd you do?
So I have this in LA, and I was trying so hard not to do this in New York, but it looks like I'm going to be here for a little while longer. I got Dewey another litter robot.
It's a litter robot.
Have you never heard of the litter robot?
No.
There's a litter robot, like unpaid advertising on this channel because I'm so passionate about it. So the litter robot is a litter box, and what it looks like is the litter box part is a giant globe, and it sits on top of a little drawer. And what happens is every single time the cat steps into the robot, a sensor goes off. So the cat does its business, and 10 minutes after the sensor was set off, the globe turns, and it automatically sifts out the good litter and drops the bad stuff into this drawer below. So all you're doing is emptying the drawer out once a week, and that's it. And every time the cat goes in the litter box, he's got a fresh, clean bed of litter.
Holy smokes.
It is not the cheapest product in the world, but I will tell you that Dewey is 8, and in LA at least, I've had the same unit since the day I brought him home.
Oh,
the
wow.
only reason I have their new version now is because like I'm here for so long and I got desperate.
No, that's a great tip. I will look into litter robot because that sounds fantastic.
All right, here is Chrissy's answer. The home episode scared me. I was only like 10 or 11 first watch, and she also said all the endings.
Yeah. It is really funny how like, yeah, I feel like there's more than one TV show where I feel like you got to kind of pick your ending. It's that, like, for me, whenever I rewatch The West Wing, I think I basically tap out like early in the season 4 after Bartlett wins his second election. That's a good place for me to stop because you're still kind of in prime Sorkin territory, but not but the back half of season 4, like there's some really rampant sexism I can't tolerate anymore. And then like the final 3 seasons are fine, but they're not quite at the same level. I don't know. I'm a big fan of picking your own ending for shows. And it doesn't, it's not like the rest of the series is bad. It's just like, yeah, maybe for you, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a better show if you end at season 5 and you just don't deal with season 6 and 7. That's your prerogative. You can watch whatever you want, however you want.
I kind of like that approach, especially because like right now, entertainment is so important to keeping my spirits up. So if I have to reshape some of the things to make me feel better about them, I'm going to do it. Liz, thank you so much for joining me today. It was so nice to get to talk to you more and just like hang out outside of Slack. Before you go, I have your Twitter handle in the description section of the video, but is there anything else you want to plug so people can find you and your work online?
I mean, you also included, I think, a link to my Collider handle, which is my Collider archives, which is great. I honestly, like, I joined Collider at the beginning of May this year, and it has been so lovely. Everyone is so great. I am so excited to be getting to do all the work I get to do with y'all. And that's meant a lot to me. I legitimately do not know how I'd be handling what's going on right now without it. And so beyond that, I mean, my Twitter is pretty good place to go. I believe my Schmodown match posts on August 31st. So look out for that. And yeah, who did you play in your round?
Mike Kalinowski.
Oh, fun.
I feel like literally anybody is going to intimidate me, but like he's so accomplished. And I feel like this itty bitty player who's played one singles match.
Oh, I mean, what do you normally play?
Well, I went through like a rough teams run a while back that didn't go very well. I played the singles match, but the exhibition matches have made me feel a little bit better about gameplay, which is the only reason I committed to jumping into the singles tournament. Right. But, all questions can't be about new releases in Jurassic Park.
Which is really a shame, quite frankly.
I fully agree with you on that.
So you like the new releases category?
Love it. I could live in that category all game long and actually have a degree of confidence with every single question.
That's wonderful. That's fantastic because that is not a strong one for me. Or am I just saying that?
Strategy at play here. I love it.
Well, I remember just like my second match, I definitely was standing backstage. My second ever match, I was standing backstage with my opponent, and we were just like being very casual and very like in the spirit of gameplay. I think we both told each other this, but I don't think we both told each other this. I forget if he initiated or if I initiated, but we both ended up telling each other what our weakest slices would be. Because the wheel, if for your Schmodown trivia, your Schmodown facts, back in the before times when we would record in the studio, the wheel would just be backstage where you were waiting to go on. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes that was like the first time you got to look at the wheel. So in the waiting period, we were both standing by the wheel. We both pointed to each other's, we both pointed to what we would say like were our worst slices. And you better believe that guy got opponent's choice. And you better believe he chose family. And it's totally fair. Like I told him, it's opponent's choice. Like, it's the way the game works. And I 100%, I do not blame him. He did exactly what I did in his shoes. Quite literally, I would have done exactly the same thing. But I still did.
I can't blame him either. I see my camera cutting out.
Yeah. I was a bit. Mostly because my cat has decided that it's time to go cuddle up against my tower of things that have my laptop propped up.
Oh yeah, that is the story of my life. Right, I feel like the fact that this is called cutting out now is our cue to say goodbye.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Any other time you want me to do this, let me know. It's a lot of fun.
Such a pleasure. You are always welcome back on this channel. A big thanks to everybody out there for watching us. As always, please keep staying safe, guys, and I'll see you soon with even more